So fellas, I have been making progress on the engine for the Nite. I think it's been like 2 weeks since I made video, but the engine's together for the most part. I've put the front dress on it so I can see what size belt I needed, and I made the splash shield for the bottom. That's at the welder right now, getting welded, along with a valve cover that had a little crack in it. I wanted him to lay a bead on. Got the upper up here drug out. I got to get that cleaned up, and I'll show you something that I found. Get you off here. I want to put the distributor in so I could route all the spark plug wires to make it, you know, it's a lot easier on a stand than it is trying to lean over a truck. So I got that straightened out. Got all the spark plug wires on there right, and like I said, I got the front dress, but when I did put the distributor in, that's all the further it would go. So I turned the engine and pushed down, still wouldn't move. Then I realized that it had bottomed on the oil pump drive shaft, so I'm gonna have to pull that back apart and trim a little bit off. I tried a different distributor just to make sure it wasn't that distributor. Same issue. So I am so thankful I found that now versus after I got it in the truck. So what I did, took the power steering pump off the truck, cleaned it up. I mounted everything, got everything cleaned up because I wanted to find the belt for it. And so a couple things I learned with this bracket is for a 302, but obviously it'll fit for a 351 because it's got that hole right there for another, you know, if you had it on a 351. Because when I first got the truck and started digging into it, I was like, man, this would probably work a whole lot better if I had a 351. And the kind of funny part about it was there was a 351 for sale like 2 weeks before I bought this truck. It was a long block. It had Dart Pro 1, I think it was a Pearl 1, or else Roush Dart. You know, I think they made the same kind of a heads. It was a steel head or iron head, not the, but it's like the Windsor Juniors, not like the Windsor Seniors. And I was like, man, that would have been nice for having the pickup, but it already got sold by the time I got the truck. And then I was thinking, well, I get the truck, I get a 351, I got to get, you know, different brackets or doodads, and then it turns out this has already got it there. So it would have been nice to know then. But I mean, this will be fine. It just, the 351 would have had a lot more torque to it. And the main reason that I stayed away from a 351 is trying to find a lower intake, like a, you know, the GT40 style 351 Windsor intake. They're getting ridiculous prices for them now. They're like $800 to $1,000. I was like, nah, I'll pass. So anyway, 3G alternator with the smaller pulley. There's a couple different sizes that come with these. You got this size, which is like what they typically have on a Mustang, and then there's this, which is, they're about the same. This one's kind of a medium between that one and this one. So I do have the smaller one on. This one needs to go on the red car. Let's see, this is standard idler, just what it had from the factory. This is just like a regular Mustang bracket for the alternator. They use the same one on the trucks, which is good to see, instead of having special ones. Mustang underdrive pulley. This is a standard truck water pump pulley, and I didn't know it until I got into this. The water pump on a truck is the same as for a Mustang. The only difference is the spacing on these bolts. So you know, I bought a truck water pump pulley because I assumed, you know, the nose height would be different or something would be different, but they're the same. Just this is the difference. So I could have had, you know, a Mustang underdrive pulley on the alternator, but that'll be fine. It's a little bigger than like the Mustang. This is a stock Mustang pulley, so it's just a tick bigger. Ain't gonna make any difference. You know, it's only a couple horsepower, and this will run the water pump a little bit faster to make sure it stays cool, you know, for towing and whatnot. Little bigger pulley on the power steering pump, just to help slow the pump down and gives the steering wheel a little firmer feel to it. And then this is the for the oil pressure from the factory. They just got one out here. I made another one on the bottom so I could plug in the stock one here, and then have the sensor for this mounted out here. Then I also have water pump or water temperature, and I found a gauge pod for the F-150. And then today too, I'm going to try to get this on. Where's the number? This, like, oops, pretty heavy duty trans cooler. Like to try to run trans as cool as possible so it don't overheat and burn up. And then once I get it going, I'll change the oil, change the fluid in the transmission, and put a shift kit in it. Bauman don't make them anymore, so I got to get something else. That's about it. This is a knock sensor. I had no idea what it was. I had to text Rod, seeing that's how he has the van, if he knew, and he said it was a knock sensor. So oh, and this is the upper intake. This I had apparently at one time. Cleaned it up, did some work in there. I'm gonna do some more, probably make that a little better. Clean it up and get her prettied up. And I think that's about it that I've been on here. So yeah, once I get the intake back, I'll show you what the bottom of that looks like, that little tray on the bottom. And then hopefully, like I said, I can get the truck in here this afternoon when Vince gets back to help me out, get it in his garage, start getting the engine out. All right, appreciate y'all. Later on. Hey, I forgot to mention I was going to talk about this. So I end up needing an 85-inch belt, and you can tell this is 85.0, so that's 85 inches on a dot. And any number in here, a third digit would be like 0.6, would be like 85.6 inches. And the 6 designator is for the number of ribs. So if you want, you can get if you're just running like the crank and the water pump and alternator, you can get like a 4-rib belt or a 3-rib, a little smaller, a little lighter belt. The other way to look at it is this is the 6 is the ribs again, but this is the metric side, so it's 216 centimeters. Little story. When I had that LTD wagon, that's like in the first video I loaded on here on the YouTubes, that was 84 LTD station wagon. It had V6 and an AOD in it when I got it. Eventually ended up having a 351 Windsor. I had ported Edelbrock heads. I had a comp cam that I had done, and a carburetor. Had a 750 Holly. I had a Wine Stealth intake, and long tubes, 2.5-inch exhaust, T5. It's a fun car to drive. It made like 360 roughly on the dyno up at Johnny's. But I'd raced Eric on it in that video, and I had street tires. Of course, he got out on me, but I run him down. I was kind of trying to take it easy. I wasn't speed shifting. But the funny story, when I was putting it together, I go to AutoZone to get a belt, and told the pimple farmer behind the counter, as a new kid, he didn't know me, and you know, and I said I need a 96.5 inch. I think it was somewhere in there. I said I need a 96.5 inch 6-rib belt, and he says, "What's the make and model?" I said, "You don't need that." I said, "All you need to do, I'm telling you what I need." And he said, "Well, I need to know the make and model." I said, "All right, I'll play your game." So I said 84 Ford LTD with a 351 Windsor, and he's tapping away, and he's like, "It doesn't give me an option for a 351 Windsor." And I said, "You're right, because it's not in there. They didn't have them." So I said, "Now, if you come with me," I said, "I'll show you how this works." So I told him that, kind of explained to him how the numbering system worked on the belts, and he was thankful. But after that, whenever I went in there, he didn't question what I was trying to get. He just went and got it for me. So I thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, so that's the belt, 85.5 inches long. Like I said, if I'd had a underdrive pulley on there, it would have taken a little shorter one, yeah. So that's for what it's worth. All right, gonna get back to working on this thing. Catch you later. What's up, party people? So this is finally out of that. It has been a struggle. Bolts have been together for 40 some years without being apart, or 20 years, 25 years, I guess. But found a couple things that I'm so glad I decided to pull the engine. Most importantly, this, because that's oil pan gasket, and it is swolled up. I don't know if somebody was in there at one time or what, but this thing is nasty. I drained the oil pan last night. A bunch of water came out of it. I just had a big old rag covering that, but hopefully, when I get it apart, I want to. The plan was to take this short block and put my twisted wedge heads on it and put it in the LTD if it's in good shape, but I'm a little skeptical because it seems like they got hot. So I'll check it out first, and then we'll go from there. So, but my first objective is to get all the stuff off it, importantly get the oil pan off so I can get that cleaned up and put it on there. The welder guy just called me just before I started this and said my intake is done, so I can go down and get that from him in a little bit and get that ready to put on too. So hopefully in a few more days that'll be ready to go in, and this will be cleaned up. I got to get the power washer on it, clean all the stuff off, and get some rattle can Rust-Oleum to put on the frame rails and clean off all that stuff there. I got a concoction I make up with some Dawn dish soap and driveway cleaner and some Simple Green and some elbow grease. We'll get her cleaned up looking better, at least. And I took all the symbols off the front and this, the F-150. Herbie will fill them holes in, and when he paints it, I'm gonna paint this stuff here. Get that knocked down. They had this thing was just pushed out of the way. This apparently didn't have factory air, so when they put the air in, they just put a crescent wrench on that flange here and just bent it over out of the way. So I bent it back and cut a little clearance for it. But yeah, it's been a struggle. A lot different than a Mustang, because Mustang is so easy to work on. You can reach practically anywhere. This thing, you gotta practically crawl on top of it to get it to get at some stuff. So I'm glad I found this stuff, so I only got to do it one time. And if you remember, the other clip, it showed where the distributor was sitting a little high. It wasn't the length of the pump drive shaft, it was the ring that goes on the bottom. The drive shaft, that ring was sitting at the bottom of the distributor, so once I put the distributor in, just tapped it down a little bit and pushed that ring down, it sat seated fine. So check that before cutting stuff. I guess is the lesson from that. So anyway, I'm just glad this is out. It's hot. It's been a struggle, but finally get this tore down and see what kind of condition it's in. That'll be in the next clip. But in the meantime, I'll get this one put up, and then I'll probably have something else by next week. All right, appreciate y'all. Later on. Hey guys, I got it kind of apart. I wasn't gonna put all this on there now because the videos are kind of long, and I try not to put really long videos on, but I figured a couple of you might have been as anxious to find out how it looked on the inside as I was. So this is the rear main bearing. I figured that's at the end of the oiling system, so if there's going to be any issues, this would be the one to show it. It's got, I don't know, some weird marks. It's not like wear, so I don't know if the crank journal is out of round or what, but it's clean, and the bearing material is still there. It's not wiped, you know, it's not down to the copper. The journal looks pretty good, so I think I'm gonna run it. I'm not gonna mess with it. I'll clean this all back up, put it back on there. I popped a couple of the the core plugs out on this side because that's the coolant that came out of it, and yeah, it's kind of gross in there. So I'm gonna pop them out, replace them. I'll get the power washer in there, try to clean it out as best I can. Other than that, it's pretty decent. It don't look terrible. The oil pan, like I said, it did have some water in there, but that was just from I had the intake off. I got the valve cover off. All that stuff's over there going to there's a guy in the neighborhood comes around, does scrap, picks up metal, and carries it down to the metal. They'll pay him by the pound, you know. I used to do it, but I have to take time off of work because their hours are the same as mine. That's not really worth it. Besides, I ain't got a pickup or nothing. So, well, I don't have a pickup that runs yet. So, we'll still got a lot of work to do this week. And of course, the red car seems like it's rejecting the 347 transplant. The Tuesday morning, going up to the gate, you know, everything's good. I get up there to the gate going to work that morning, and there's a stoplight right next to the gate. Well, the car dies. That's weird because I kind of had dialed in somewhat, and started it up, boom, it died again. I was like, what the hell? So then I start going across the road to get into the gate, and then it keeps like runs funny, it's chugging, and so I got over to the far side, and I got it into a parking spot, and it's just like got no gas. Of course, when I'm trying to push it into the parking spot, a cop comes over, one of the gate guards. He's like, is something wrong? Like, you know, it's only like a question a wife or a general or now a cop can ask, is something wrong when I'm trying to push a car at like 6:30 in the morning. Like, yeah, I just want to get pissed off and sweaty before I go to work. So anyway, he helped me, and then after work, Vince and I went over there, and I pushed on the Schrader valve, and after I primed it a couple of times, and it just like dribbled out. It's like, damn. So of course I got like 3/4 of a tank of gas in it, and we towed it home. I got it in the driveway, so maybe one night this week I'll when it ain't raining, I'll get it up underneath the carport and swap in the new one. I already got the other one. I got the 255 liter per hour, 340 liter per hour. The Walbro, just the pump and not that kit. I'm gonna see if they got some kind of a warranty, because it's only been in there like a month. I don't know what the hell's wrong with it. Like I said, I'm careful with gas. Hopefully it ain't the sock shit the bed again, but anyway, a little aggravating. But anyway, that's life with these cars, I guess. That'll wrap this up. I'll get this posted. Appreciate all your comments and all that stuff, and all of you guys. Talk to you next time.